There is a manuscript so strange that, centuries later, no one has managed to prove whether it contains a delusion, a fraud, or knowledge too real to ignore. Between indecipherable herbs, mysterious figures, and pages that seem to hide a logic of their own, the Voynich Manuscript raises an unsettling question. What if all of this is talking about something serious? What if those plants are not just ancient drawings, but clues to formulas, antidotes, or something capable of extending life? For many, many years, who were the people caught up in this story? How did they get to this parchment? And why? The more we look at the Voynich, the more it seems to be hiding something. Before we answer that, we need to go back in the story. Alright, everyone. We've already gone through several intriguing figures, and all of them play a role in this story, inside this manuscript. But here's the truth. There is still a lot ahead of us, just like everyone who tried to decipher the Voynich. To this day, we are still only at the beginning too. There is still a lot left to see, especially when it comes to the herbs. And then that question comes up. Because to be honest, I have it too. What if witches really did exist, even knowing that in antiquity, with so little information available back then? A lot of legend and a lot of fable ended up emerging. What if this parchment is telling something too serious? Something that maybe we are not even ready to hear yet? What if those herbs from the beginning of this video are talking about some kind of antidote? Or worse, what if they are talking about something capable of extending life for many, many years? In good health? Think about that. Because if it's true, then this manuscript may be hiding far more than we imagine. But relax, let's keep exploring, little by little, what exists inside this parchment. And as time goes on, I also want to bring new videos about each figure. Who were these people? How did they get here? How did they come into contact with the Voynich Manuscript? And what did they do over the course of their lives? So that, at some point, they could get their hands on it. Here we're going to dive into the herbs. We're going to look at the constellations. And we're also going to talk about something that, to me, looks a lot like a tide chart. Why not? The drawing looks like one. Highs and lows, as if it were trying to say something. And maybe it is. So, come with me into this story, because the more we look at the Voynich, the more it seems to be hiding something. The same knowledge that helped a healer could also make someone look suspicious. And that context matters a lot. Because when the Voynich presents you with strange herbs, deformed roots and unreadable descriptions, it opens the door to an uncomfortable doubt. Are we looking at a manual of ancient medicine? At a body of apothecary knowledge? Or at a kind of knowledge that, depending on who saw it, could be read as occult, forbidden, or even demonic? The manuscript does not answer, but it knows how to suggest, and it suggests too much. Then come the circular diagrams, the signs, the constellations, the sky arranged into patterns. And here, the Voynich becomes more dangerous. Because it starts showing you a logic of its time that modern audiences sometimes forget. In the medieval world, astrology and medicine did not live in separate universes the way they do today. The celestial calendar could affect the right moment to treat the body, to bleed it, to medicate it, to avoid certain procedures. In that context, what seems merely exotic to us may belong to a very concrete horizon of health, time, and nature. Suddenly, the manuscript stops being just a strange book with stars and starts to look like a kind of almanac, deeply warped. A book in which sky, body, and healing may have converged in the same system. It is also in this section that there appears one of the book's most tempting clues. Some month names over certain zodiac signs, forms that come close to something like Occitan, like Abril, Mai, Auste, and Novembre. That does not solve the manuscript's origin. It does not translate the system. It does not reveal the author. But it offers exactly the kind of thing the Voynich likes most to give you: direction without certainty, a clue without closure, a path without proof. And that keeps the manuscript in an almost cruel position. It never seems completely closed, but it never seems willing to open itself either. But the visual heart of the Voynich may lie somewhere else. And this is where the story changes. The bathing section that follows is one of the book's most disturbing parts. There are around 20 pages illustrated with small female figures, almost always naked, spread through pools, reservoirs, tubes, channels, and water passages. Some seem to be submerged, others seem to move between compartments. And the strangest thing of all is that none of it feels drawn at random. There is a functional logic there. We can see that there is a system, we just do not know how to read it. The level of detail reinforces that impression. Researchers have identified 21 large communal baths in this section, arranged into distinct color groups, 15 with green water and 6 with blue water. The difference seems intentional. Beyond that, the shape of the baths varies. Some resemble pools carved into rock. Others look like constructed basins. When they appear together, they are often connected by channels or piping. In some cases, the water arrives through tubes. In others, it seems to emerge in even stranger ways. The Voynich insists on ideas of circulation, passage, transformation. You look at it and feel order, but you get no legend, and that is what makes it all so unsettling. It does not feel like a madman's chaos. It feels like the organization of a mind that knew exactly what it was doing. Historical comparisons make this section even more suggestive. Some readings connect these images to traditions, linked to medicinal baths, thermal circuits, and manuscripts, such as the Balneas Pudiolanis. Other readings reinforce the similarity to medieval bathing manuals, in which hygiene, bodily treatment, and water intersected. That does not settle the issue, but it allows an important hypothesis. Maybe the Voynich is not showing gratuitous nudity or loose fantasy. Maybe it is representing some therapeutic system, natural, ritual, or symbolic. And that is where the line becomes perfect for mystery, because between medicinal bathing, female treatment, bodily cosmology, and hidden symbolism, there is a lot of room for interpretation, especially in a period when healing practice, belief, and suspicion could sit far too close to one another. After that, the manuscript returns to the plants, but in another way. Instead of the large herbal illustrations from the beginning, there appear roots, fragmented herbs, and colored cylinders, whose function remains obscure. And here, a hypothesis appears that fits a lot of things. Maybe these containers have less to do with grand alchemy and more with apothecary work, the preparation of remedies, the handling of herbal compounds, a proto-medical repertoire. Putting that together with the plants, the signs, and the baths, a possible backbone starts to emerge. The Voynich may be some kind of health almanac, very strange, in which body and plant, time, water, and the preparation of substances belong to the same horizon. But a horizon is not a translation yet. It is only the shadow of coherence. And then we arrive at the biggest problem, the writing. Because as strange as the images are, nothing rivals the discomfort of looking at the Voynich text. It looks like real writing. There is repetition of patterns, recurring distribution of forms, consistent internal behavior. There are researchers who speak of something like language A and language B, with most of the manuscript following one pattern, and sections like the baths and stars following another. In other words, the book does not seem merely undeciphered. It seems internally structured in layers, and that makes the enigma grow instead of shrink. The statistical tests make the whole thing even more uncomfortable. In many real languages, the frequency of words follows a stable pattern of common and rare words. The Voynich seems to reproduce something similar. That is used as an argument against the idea of pure random scribbling. But another kind of test complicates everything again. The manuscript spelling seems too predictable, too rigid, too mechanical, more than would be expected in ordinary natural languages. Beyond that, certain lexical groupings appear more often in specific sections, such as plants and roots. In plain English, the text seems too organized to be simple chance, and too strange to be treated like a normal language. And this is where the intellectual debate becomes really strong. On one side stands the pseudo-text hypothesis, something without real meaningful language, but produced in a non-random way, precisely to imitate the appearance of a system. That idea is disturbing, because it does not require saying the manuscript is fake. The book can be historically authentic and still contain an artificial text, semantically empty, made to seem profound. On the other side are the readings that see thematic structure, internal coherence, and signs consistent with a genuine message, encrypted or built on rules of its own. The big problem is that no one has won that dispute cleanly. Neither statistics killed the mystery, nor the seduction of mystery managed to turn itself into proof. And that is why the Voynich remains alive, because it seems to work, without behaving like anything we really know in the end. The most honest answer about the Voynich Manuscript may also be the most unsettling. We still do not know exactly what it is, but we can no longer treat it as a mere historical joke. The object is real, the book is old, the images reveal a persistent thematic architecture. The writing seems to obey rules, and even so, the center remains closed. That makes the Voynich something rare, a riddle that does not depend only on legend. It remains standing, even when the easiest fantasy is stripped away. Maybe it is a medical manuscript, deeply strange. Maybe it gathers healing practices, baths, calendars, herbs, and the preparation of substances into a system now lost. Maybe it is a layered cipher, too sophisticated for our eyes. Maybe it is a brilliant pseudo-text, created to look like language, without yielding any meaning at all. And maybe there is a fourth possibility, more uncomfortable, that the Voynich was produced at a point of contact between practical knowledge, symbolic imagination, therapeutic tradition, and cultural fear. A place where the difference between remedy and poison, between science and superstition, between apothecary practice and witchcraft, might have depended more on who was looking than on the page itself. And maybe that is exactly what makes this book so hard to abandon, because it does not offer us only a code to break. It offers a feeling, the feeling that we are facing something, organized, serious, coherent, but out of reach. As if these pages belong to a system that truly existed and then lost its key. You look at the plants and almost recognize them. You look at the diagrams and almost understand them. You look at the baths and almost see their function. You look at the text and almost believe you are about to open a door, but almost never becomes an answer. And that is why the Voynich Manuscript keeps crossing centuries, not because it is merely strange. Strange books exist by the thousands, because it feels too meaningful to dismiss and too unresolved to solve. It moves in that perfect band between order and opacity, between evidence and silence, between treatise and ritual, between archive and shadow. In the end, maybe the real mystery of the Voynich is not discovering what it says. Maybe it is accepting that it seems to have been made to keep resisting, as if the deepest secret of these pages were not hidden behind the writing, but in their very ability to remain closed, century after century, before everyone who swore that this time they would open it.